Welcome back, Bench Warmers, episode 80 of the Fart in the Bench podcast. Jimmy Pilato, Nico Bryant. We just previewed slightly our NBA playoff predictions. We'll have that full video that's going to drop as a YouTube exclusive on Friday, so be sure to subscribe there. And we'll have plenty of great things to discuss. But before we get to that, hockey still has a little bit of the regular season left, so not quite as urgent as
it feels like it should be done because basically the AF season is done, regular season at least that is, because no one cares about the last 10 games or whatever it is.
Well, the Avalanche would have been able to lose their last 16 games in overtime and still have the number one seed in the Western Conference, so who can blame them for not necessarily taking it as seriously, even though they're still playing playoff teams and still winning. And that game against Edmonton last weekend, holy shit. Darcy Kemper's that dude.
He's a bad man.
No goals. Those two teams scored no goals in regulation.
In overtime. They didn't get fucking touched. And Kemper fucking he didn't let one puck cross the net. Not in fucking shootout. He shut down McDavid. Drysdale just fucking wound up and shot that hoe because he knew he didn't have a shot trying to finesse him. It's hilarious what goalies come to Denver and whether it be Grube or now Kemper, they come with this just fucking swagger that they know how good their defense is in front of them. They can fucking make plays by themselves because they have the ability to take risks because of the offense you have in front of you and the fucking studs on defense you have as well.
Yeah, I really like the way that Kemper finished his season. I want to focus more on the NHL, but before we do that, DU did have a historic weekend on Saturday as well. Actually, full weekend, because Thursday night they had to take down the number one overall seed in Michigan, and they did that in overtime to get to the national championship game. And that also gave them the ability to win their 9th national championship as a program, which would tie them for the lead in all of NCAA sports currently with Michigan.
Yeah, that's a west coast, not West Coast, but the farthest western school that has one of the best hockey programs in the world. Take that East Coast bias.
It was a crazy 2 games. Minnesota State, the fact that they were able to lead that game for 2 whole periods and then give up 5 in the third, and the goaltender for the Mavericks was the Hobie Baker winner. He was considered the best player in the tournament, and DU did what they did in that third period. Now, it was funny first because the guy who scored that goal for Minnesota State was a Denver guy or a Colorado native. So that was an interesting story at first. But this team, I think if the Avalanche want to do what we all expect them to do, they should honestly watch the 2 games that DU played in this last year's Frozen Four, because they weren't the most talented team, which is what the Avalanche are pretty much going to be no matter who they play in the NHL playoffs. However, when they got down or when the team started playing them a certain way, there was never any wilting from the Pios. The Denver Pioneers stood up to whatever they were going to face, found a way to play the game that they wanted to, and overcame adversity. And honestly, as I think about the last 3 playoff runs for the Avalanche, outside of the year where they upset Calgary in the first round and shouldn't have even been there, that's really been what it is. They face a adverse situation, and it's almost like they wilt. I'm not going to say that they give up and stop playing, but Vegas, after game 2 last year, held the physical dominance, and the Avalanche were never able to come back from that adversity. So I really think what we saw Denver do in winning that national championship and starting things off on the right foot for Colorado hockey as we get ready for playoffs, the Avalanche could actually watch those games and learn something. Because that's Bednar. If I were Bednar, I would be showing the film of that game and see this team was losing for 89% of the game, and then they came back and did what they should have done and put 5 on them and won the national championship. So really cool for the Pios. Awesome to see them win their 9th national championship. And the welcome home that they got from the Denver Fire Department. Did you see that at the airport? Getting the water cannons.
That was just awesome. This DU hockey team, and if you're a Colorado sports fan in general, there's a few teams that every single year you can consistently know that they're going to be decent. DU hockey and DU lacrosse are 2 of those teams. DU lacrosse.
You have like half of the good teams in the state.
It really does. Like the hockey team is always top 4 in every single year. and DU lacrosse is the exact same way. And let's talk about this coach, David Carl, 32 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He's 32 years old. I listened to a story this morning on Altitude Sports Radio. He jumped on this morning. He originally was not scholarship. He was recruited to play hockey at DU. He went and got tested and he had heart problems where he had to stop playing. He became player coach for DU. Went on to coach at Green Bay, not the Packers, but Green Bay, the college for the hockey team. Yeah. And then he comes back here and gets the program right back to the top of the mountaintop. 32 years old, a guy that had NHL dreams, that had his dream taken away from him, now is living the dream with a college hockey team and a bunch of group of guys that just come out and win no matter what. It's an absolutely incredible story. DU hockey does it again, man. They do it again. The Pios become again the most relevant college in the city or in the state.
It has been that way for a long time. You're given the cards that you're dealt, and it's what you do with those cards. And yeah, the DU coach Carroll did exactly what he needed to with those cards. So great story for DU. Awesome that they won the championship. Hopefully, it's a sign of good things to come. Now, as we sit currently for the NHL playoffs in the West, there's tons of movement. I was listening to Spit and Chicklets. Shout out Spit and Chicklets. No free shout outs. I know I steal a lot from the other podcasts that I listen to. You're just going to have to deal with it. But there's like 18 different playoff scenarios that we could have for the Western Conference. That's teams flipping seeds that are already in the playoffs, or Vegas right now, as it sits, is not one of the wild card teams. Dallas did overtake them, and it looks like Vegas might miss out on the playoffs entirely. So the one team that has their playoff spot solidified is the Colorado Avalanche. As it sits now, they would win the President's Trophy and have the number one overall seed in the NHL. We all know how we feel about that, but hopefully Florida can pull themselves together for the last stretch of the season.
We've won 9 in a row, I think. We still fucking have it. How annoying is that? Fuckers, come on.
They've won 9 in a row. We're 8-1-1 in our last 10. So
fuck.
we can't lose, and Florida can't win enough. I'm knocking on wood. Don't worry. I'm not going to throw it off this year. But the Avalanche being the only team in the Western Conference playoffs to have solidified their spot, even if they win the President's Trophy, that says something for what this team has been able to do, because they weren't healthy for a good majority of this year. There's always been at least one star or a guy on the defensive back end. Kemper was struggling initially at the start of the season, and it hasn't mattered. They've had people step up. Nazem Kadri, congratulations to you. You've made yourself a boatload of money somewhere else. I wish it could be here, but
it's number 29 needs a contract still.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, we're not giving you that money.
You are the second line center still, so you'll go be a first line center somewhere else, but you're still a second line center.
Be a first line center in fucking Arizona or somewhere else like that.
Go to Toronto. Go back to Toronto. Why not?
Yeah, you can go win a cup here. You can win a cup here before then.
Yeah. So that is huge for Colorado. And as it sits now, their first round matchup would be against the Dallas Stars. I'm not adverse to this. I want to play Vegas and I want to play Dallas. Those are my two teams that if I could set it currently, those are the two teams that I want to see the Avalanche play in the first round. Let's work out these playoff demons that we've had to deal with for the last 2 years. And I'm not going to say that it's a lock that the Avalanche are going to dominate the first round, but I do think that it's a very high probability that that's what's going to happen. So if you're able to do that against a team that's had your number for the past couple seasons, why not? I'd love it. I'd welcome it.
It would be very, very, very nice to go in there and just punk one of those teams. Vegas just got Mark Stone back on Tuesday, and then Dallas is just that fucking team that just a little engine that could. You don't think they should be there, but here they are somehow, and they're playing damn good hockey, and I would love to run a fucking train on either of those teams and just send a message that the type of message that I thought we sent when we beat St. Louis that bad last year, where we fucking just sent them home in 4 and said goodbye, see you later, on to the next one. And obviously that came back to bite us in the ass. Maybe we need to play a few games, maybe make it 5 or 6 games, so we don't just get our legs tired. So maybe we let them have one game. But either way, I want to just fucking roll these guys and Dallas. who's Kings are basically out of it. It's between Dallas, the Cougars, and Vegas. Between those three fighting for the 8th seed. And right now, I would not count out the Cougars either. Cougar. When I say Cougars, I say Vancouver. It's Vancouver Canucks. I listened to it. Like I said, I listened to the betting show and they call them the Cougars. So I would not count them out. They've gone a little bit better as of late, but Vegas and Dallas, it seems like those two teams are just it's gonna be all out war for the last seed.
Yeah. The as it sits currently, the wild card, Nashville and Dallas are the two that have it. Vegas is two behind.
Nashville's not a mere lock, even though it's not a lock. They have a tiebreaker over most of those teams.
Nashville would be a playoff team if they weren't in the Central Division this season.
Yes,
Nashville would be third in the Pacific if they were on the other in the other division on the Western Conference. The other teams, Winnipeg still has necessarily a fighting chance. They're sitting at 81 points, and then Vancouver has 80. So it's Vegas, Winnipeg, and Vancouver, all three fighting for that last wild card. Los Angeles right now has the final spot in the Pacific. So the Kings actually might be in the playoffs proper.
They just shut down Drew Doughty for the year.
Yep.
And they just shut down I can't think of their top center, but they just shut down like two guys for the year. So even if they make the playoffs, that's the easiest first round exit I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
So
so Colorado, Dallas as it sits now. Calgary is the 2 seed in the West. They played Nashville at the 7. That's congratulations on making the 2 seed. You're going to have to go play Roman Josi and UC Saros. So,
and Calgary is known to fumble the bag when it comes to playoffs. So that's not a fun trip.
What? Oh, yeah, they did lose as the first seed, right? Oh, yeah. And Cale Makar scored his first goal in the NHL against them, too. Yeah, that makes sense. I remember now. The Flames, that's who that is. 3 seed, Minnesota. Actually, I'm not quite sure how the tiebreakers will work. It's Minnesota and St. Louis have the same number of points, so
I'm pretty sure you go head to head.
Yeah.
I'm not sure though.
As I put it, it's Minnesota is the 3 seed. They take on the Kings at the 6 currently, and then St. Louis and Edmonton is the 4 and 5. That one might actually be the easiest 4-5 matchup for St. Louis.
Dude, I don't know.
Edmonton's got no goaltending.
I know Edmonton doesn't have shit, but I would much rather, if I was St. Louis, I'd much rather play the Kings.
Yeah.
Because Edmonton has fucking 2 of the best players in the world. It doesn't matter if they have no goaltending. You have to be able to slow those guys down. Some teams have figured it out. They figured it out during the playoffs. But it's not like the Kings are throwing the fucking kitchen sink at you. It's a little different between the Kings and the 3 seed, and Edmonton as the 5 seed. Kings as the 6 seed, and Edmonton as the 5 seed. Little bit different.
Right now, yeah, with the guys that LA had to sit down, that does change things a little bit. The team that I really don't, I think Dallas, great that they made the playoffs, but watching Dallas, I saw the highlight of them playing against Toronto, and yes, it's Austin Matthews, so I know it's skewed, but
Matthews on a fucking god mode right now.
The guy covering him for Dallas had to turn around and skate backward to try and keep up with him, and he still got the corner taken on him, and Austin Matthews still got around him and scored. So it's the teams that are there that have no speed. Other like Dallas, I think of Boston in the bubble when they played Tampa. When you're chasing guys on the back end, that doesn't set you up for good success. And
never does.
That's the one positive that I see for the Avs is that all of their defensemen can skate backwards as fast as most of the forwards can skate forward. And Darcy Kemper just has a different feel than Philip Grubauer. I know Gruby was on a heater going into the playoffs, and I know that he has playoff experience in Washington. I was never super confident in Philip Grubauer. I'm fairly confident in Darcy Kemper as of now.
I'm not going to sit here and say I'm super confident in Kemper either, but you know what I am super confident is in this defense. That's what I am super confident in. That always bodes well. Because look what Grubauer did in fucking Seattle. He's not even starting anymore for them. They gave him a fat contract. He's not even their number 1 right now. And Kemper, he like I said earlier, he just does whatever he wants. And he's making life a lot easier. The defense is making his life so much easier. I talked about it last year, and I know it kind of went over people's heads. EJ in the lineup is just so massive. He's one of two guys on this team that's played every single game. Him and Logan, the Loch Ness Monster, Logan O'Connor over there, have played every single game for this team. And that consistency on the back end with your assistant captain is massive, absolutely massive. It gives the energy to Kale, gives the energy to Bo when he comes back and he's fully healthy. It gives that energy to Sammy G when he comes back. The Condor, he's ring chasing. He is. He's ring chasing. And this may be the best shot he may ever get because he's a guy that may have to leave as well eventually. But man, he's that rock on the back end. Mac, Landy, and Miko are obviously the rock on the front end. And it's beautiful hockey. Dallas doesn't scare me. Vancouver doesn't scare me. Vegas kind of scares me.
Only because we need to beat them in the playoffs.
Exactly. Only because they're Vegas. They always fucking do something with nothing.
Yeah. I think an unsung hero too of this season is the other Johnson, Jack Johnson. He might not bring it on the ice. I think Curtis McDermott too. I talked a lot of shit about Curtis McDermott at the beginning of the season. Is he able to play on this team? No, he wouldn't be a player on this team, but he's there for his role. And the teams have not been taking liberties with the Avalanche as much as in years past. I know Mac just got into a fight and Landy was fighting too, but with Curtis McDermott in the roster and especially in the playoffs now, think about the way that Colorado was pushed around in that Vegas series last year. Now, if Curtis McDermott didn't play in the first two games and then we saw how physically beat up they got in game 3, you can put Curtis McDermott into the lineup. Think about what Ryan Reeves was last year for the Knights. Ryan Reeves did not play any minutes other than to rip out Ryan Graves' hair. That was all he was there to do. Like that's Curtis McDermott this season. And Jack Johnson with EJ back there, I like them on the same pairing, but the experience and the calm that they bring to the locker room. All these guys, like I follow them on TikTok. And when Colorado tries to do the trends, like who's the dad of the team, everybody just, you can tell like people are trying to get into the dressing room. And then EJ and Jack Johnson are just standing there like thinking about the question. Just, They're old enough that they understand taking a deep breath isn't necessarily the worst thing. Everybody else is just go, 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 go.
Absolutely. This team is just absolutely incredible. And then before we move on, I want to say this because Denver, Colorado will be Hockey Town, USA after knock on wood after by June 1st, because I don't know when the playoffs end. Maybe June 15th. June 15th, the state of Colorado will be Hockey Town, USA. Let me point this out. That does not mean the city's a hockey town. It still is a football town. It will always be a football town. But Detroit, Michigan is not Hockey Town, USA anymore. It'll be Denver, Colorado with the DU Pioneers with the college hockey championship and the Stanley Cup coming back home into Denver, Colorado. And then we will have Hockey Town over here, not the little joke of city of Detroit. That's all I'll say. Yeah, yes, I'm still bitter at those fuckers for past all these years. Yes, I didn't have memories of when they did that, but I still hate them. So that's all that matters. And they have a dude on the team with that name Bertuzzi. That's all you need to know.
When you're born in Colorado, it's almost like you get your I hate the Detroit Red Wings shirt in the hospital. And
you wake up with I hate the fucking Lakers, I hate the Raiders, I hate the Red Wings. That's how it goes.
Yes, and too bad for the Red Wings. They had to leave the Western Conference because they couldn't handle the Avalanche anymore. And now they're going to lose their Hockey Town moniker in USA.
Actually, the team is a joke of a fucking franchise. Fucking losing 9-1.
Yeah, they can't. It's and they play in the Little Caesars Arena. Like they
that was the biggest downgrade in fucking building history. The fucking joke compared to Little Caesars Arena. Are you kidding me? Oh, biggest downgrade ever.
When you get eliminated from the playoffs, do you also throw the octopus onto the ice, or is that only when you confirm your playoff spot? I'm just asking because I've never experienced it. I will say, at least as Colorado fans, I know we hate the Red Wings or people who live in Colorado. You've had the Broncos be pretty good for quite a while. Mm-hmm. If you're a Red Wings fan, you got to deal with hockey season where they suck, and then you got to go deal with baseball season where the Tigers suck.
Tigers are better, I'll say that, but fucking basketball is basketball hell, and your football team is the worst franchise in the NFL.
16.
Yeah. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, Detroit, you suck. What? Unless you're a Red Wings fan, I don't hate you if you're from Detroit.